Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. It's unacceptable, Ben Shephard. Shocking update drops just a few minutes ago. Broken our hearts, this news must see. For most of his career, Ben Shephard had kept his personal life close to the chest. Unlike the tabloid-tangled romances of some of his peers, his marriage with Annie had always been quietly solid. She wasn't often on red carpets or splashed across magazine covers. In fact, outside of the occasional charity gala or Wimbledon sighting, she was nearly invisible to the public. That was exactly how they liked it. Annie was a landscape architect by trade, with an eye for gardens and a passion for organic living. Her life wasn't run by schedules and scripts. She loved long walks in Epping Forest, warm mugs of tea, and reading Tessa Hadley novels on rainy afternoons. They lived in a beautifully restored Georgian townhouse in Richmond, understated, elegant, and filled with books, vintage vinyl, and the soft scent of lavender oil. Their sons, Sam and Jack, were now in their late teens, off to university, chasing their own paths. The nest was quieter now, and for the first time in years, Ben and Annie found themselves rediscovering each other. Back at the This Morning studios, the aftermath of Ben's photo was clear. Ben, mate, your post on Instagram broke our record. That picture, 1.6 million likes in 12 hours. Even Gino D'Acampo's pasta reel didn't do that. Ben chuckled, a little embarrassed. Didn't mean to cause a scene. Holly grinned as she flipped through her script. Everyone's swooning. Couple goals is trending. And half the internet just realized you were married. Ben smirked. We've been together for nearly 30 decades. Some things just don't need to shouting about. Well, she said, nudging him with a playful elbow, you shouted just enough last night. By mid-morning, headlines were rolling in. Ben Shephard melts hearts with romantic photo of rarely seen wife. Inside Ben and Annie's secret to a long-lasting love. Shephard's surprise, morning show star gives glimpse into private paradise. ITV execs even requested a special This Morning feature, Behind the Shepherds, 25 Years of Love. The next few days brought an avalanche of letters, emails, and DMs. Older couples thanked them for showing the value of enduring love. Young fans wrote about how the Shepherds had changed their view on relationships. Even a few cynical critics admitted the special had snuck up on them and squeezed their hearts. But the biggest surprise came in a handwritten note, a rare treasure in the digital age. It was from an 87-year-old woman named Margaret from Devon. Dear Ben and Annie, I watched your story with my late husband's jumper wrapped around my shoulders. You reminded me of us. Thank you for giving me one more night of him. Ben read it aloud to Annie that evening, and they both sat in silence for a long time after. With newfound inspiration, Annie Shephard hadn't imagined herself standing at a podium in Waterstone's Piccadilly, a line of eager readers waiting for their copies of Tending Love to be signed. She adjusted her scarf, smoothed down her linen dress, and looked at the cover again, a watercolor of a hand holding a trowel, blossoms peeking out of the earth. She'd written the book in fragments between dawn garden strolls and quiet hours in the conservatory. She thought perhaps 50 people might read it, friends, family, maybe a gardening enthusiast or two. But after the This Morning special, it had leapt to the Sunday Times bestseller list. People were drawn to her honesty, how she wrote about love through seasons, how marriages sometimes go fallow and need nurturing, how pain and laughter often share roots. A journalist from The Guardian called it a quietly revolutionary guide to the emotional ecology of long-term love. Ben had hugged her tighter than ever when they saw that review. While Annie's book climbed charts, Ben began to change This Morning from within. He pitched new segments, arounder life stories, where elderly couples shared the things that mattered. A Full House reunion special brought in siblings who had been reconnecting after years of estrangement. There was Growing Together, a new initiative with community gardens around the UK, bringing together families and retirees to cultivate not just plants, but connection. One garden in Sheffield became so popular that a local council voted to permanently fund it. Ben even hosted a This Morning Valentine's Day special, not filled with roses and chocolates, but letters from military wives, testimonials from couples separated by illness, and small, real acts of devotion. A postman who walked an extra mile to deliver his neighbor's love letters after she broke her leg. It was emotional, real, and incredibly British. Viewership soared. Behind the scenes, ITV execs noted a shift in tone. Ratings were up, but more importantly, so was engagement. Viewers weren't just watching, they were feeling, connecting.
Love Actually aired in 6 parts, filmed over 8 months. Ben and Annie traveled the UK, from a couple who built a marriage through deafness and sign language in Manchester to a lesbian couple running a B&B in Cornwall who had waited 30 years to legally wed. Each story was told with the gentleness and care that Ben and Annie had become known for. One episode showed Annie helping redesign a small urban community plot in Birmingham, turning it into a shared space for grieving parents. Another followed Ben to a school where children planted trees in memory of grandparents lost to the pandemic. The final episode brought the series home, literally. It featured their own garden, their old photo albums, the bench in Richmond Park. Viewers wept. Critics called it a healing balm in televised form. 1 year after the photo that changed everything, Ben posted a new one. This time, they were in their garden, seated on the grass, surrounded by flowers in full bloom. Annie was barefoot, holding a copy of her second book, Rooted Hearts. Ben was grinning in his usual checkered shirt, mud on his knees from planting. What started as a glimpse has grown into a garden of connection. Thank you for joining our journey. We hope you plant your own. The global success of Love Actually, Britain's emotional landscape, had taken everyone by surprise, including Ben and Annie themselves. Originally meant as a soft-spoken documentary for UK audiences, it had been picked up by Netflix internationally. Within days of its release, it trended in countries as far apart as Canada, Japan, Brazil, and South Africa. Subtitled in 16 languages and dubbed in 7, the gentle love stories reached places where British morning shows never had. Ben opened his email one quiet morning to find messages from strangers around the world. My wife and I watched this with tears in our eyes. We'd forgotten how to talk. Now we gardened together again. Mateo and Clara, Buenos Aires.